They're all muted.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the virtual roundtable for January 21st, 2016. We have Chrissy Bowers here to talk about a few departmental updates, and then we will move to our business attraction team. We'll go over project updates on open projects that involve statewide RFIs. I'll also go over the property tax exemption user guide and share the new Idaho ED Partners map and directory. So if you have any questions, please type them out as you go, and we will get to them as they come up. And with that, Chrissy Bauer.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. And Happy New Year. This is our first one for 2016, isn't it? It is.
It is.
So, wow, Happy New Year. We have a new director. I don't know if you have been living in a bubble and not heard that, but it is still breaking news. Megan Ronk, we are pleased to say, is our new Director Ronk, taking the place of Jeff Sayer. She's just, I think, 14 days under her belt since the announcement, so you can only imagine she's inundated, and her charter, and she's been doing an amazing job, is to go around and meet everybody or talk to them live. That's a lot of bodies in the legislature, in our economic area, and all of you on the phone. So anyway, make a point when you see her to make her breathe deeply and welcome her. So other updates for commerce, I wanted people to know that Tuesday of this week, we had all of our regional ED pros in for a training. The first portion of the day was for our brand new people to the group, and there were also people on virtual roundtable, or sorry, on WebEx, so that if they couldn't travel, they attended. What we've covered in that was kind of the best and the worst, Commerce 101, and updates from all of our organizations. Business Attraction did an update. We had a brief chat about how our rural ED Pro RFPs were going to change from a 3-year cycle to a 1-year cycle. We've been talking about that for about a year now. We also talked about the property tax, which you'll hear more about today, and it was with rave reviews. Everyone will like that. We talked about downtown improvement or opportunities, and then International talked about how to get involved if you have companies in your area wanting to export or import. Then after our economic development professionals training, we had a legislator open house that partnered with the Idaho Economic Development Association. So there were the officers from IEDA, and we had invited all the legislators to come over from 4:30 to 6:30 at beside a restaurant where they just would mingle and visit, and the goal being that our economic professionals could get to know the legislators in their area, set up meetings for a later date so that if issues come up, they know them, they know some of the wins going on in their region, and can better represent what's going on. It was a huge success. We had a good time. Next year, maybe all of you can go. Busy time at Commerce. Next week, January 26th and 27th, we have our Economic Advisory Council here for their quarterly meeting. Joining in on that fun is the Travel Council for their meeting, and in this they review proposals, grants, budget. There's some new members who will be oriented. It will be a very full couple of days, and there will be notes coming out from that you'll hear more about. And lastly, just a brief update on our international team. Heads up, the Governor's Trade Mission is in October, beginning October 27th to China. Right now they're planning, in the planning phase of that. So if you have a business in your area or you're interested in the Governor's Trade Mission to China, October 27th through November 5th, please contact Tina Salisbury, and she can help you get your businesses and get you geared up for that. They have also our trade managers coming in April and June. So those will be busy times, and those trade managers are more than willing to come and visit you where you are, where applicable. So that is kind of my Reader's Digest high view of what's been going on. And of course, I can't do everything justice because there's a million things going on. But that's the brief from today.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Amanda. It's been a pleasure.
All right, moving on to business attraction. Handing it over to Callan.
Great, thank you, Amanda. Okay, so as stated in the agenda, one thing, or probably the most important thing that we wanted to cover from the business attraction is going over the open, or well, actually they're not all open, but they are the projects that our office has sent RFIs out for in the last 18 months. So we know that we get requests often for updates on these, and we just wanted to kind of kick off a new tradition, covering them in virtual roundtables, and then also just providing some more regular updates in a table format. So we'll go over that, and then we're going to touch on some other metrics and charts that the business attraction team tracks in salesforce.com, if any of you guys are familiar with that application that we use. So first off, to take a look, and hopefully that text is big enough for everyone to read on their computer, but let's see, gotta get our little widget closed. Okay, so we're just going to go through these. Eric is at SHOT Show, so he's not with us, so he's going to be covering his project, but we're going to go through them quickly, project by project, just to make sure everything is covered.
Project goal of Eric's is still looking for funding for expansion, so they probably weren't ready to pull the trigger exactly at that moment. They need to get more money. Project Vapor and Aurelius are both no response from the customer after they asked us to do the initial search. And Project Brooklyn, the customer is making a short list. We've sent them more information, but they haven't gotten back to us for the short list.
Okay, Project Breton, no Idaho locations were selected for that one, so it was a lost project. Project Midnight has been put on hold. I've checked in with them a number of times and still on hold, so hoping that status will change in 2016. Project Rotunda is working with one Idaho location, but is just moving a little slowly. Project Pioneer, we sent information back to them, but just never heard back after they received our properties. So that one's closed for now. Project Grays is interested, or was interested, in one Idaho location and requested some follow-up information a couple of times, but have since become unresponsive. Project Basket is looking into one Idaho location, but they're working with them directly and kind of going through a few feasibility items. So Commerce is not taking an active role in that one at this point. Project Apex, well, we have it as Apex 2. You guys do it just as Project Apex. It seems like they were interested in a couple of locations. I think, in fact, the site selector reached out to a couple of you, but at least from our standpoint, they have since become unresponsive. So if anyone has any updates on that one, don't hesitate to let us know. And then finally, Project Family. Again, the client became unresponsive after we submitted our submission to them. Oh, next one. There we go.
Okay, this is Jenny. Project ICE, that was from quite a while ago. That was actually, gosh, our first project after I got hired here, but there was no response from the client after we submitted an RFI. Project Mustard, same thing, no word from client. Playground, they selected another state for their expansion, darn. Project Junior, never heard back from the client. Darkness, they selected another state to expand in, darn. And Project Outlet, no word from the client, and Crayola. They were supposed to do a site visit before the holidays, but as we all know, holidays get busy, so it didn't work out. So they were going to do it after, but I have not heard from them. So fingers crossed, they're just catching up after the holidays, and we'll still plan to do a site visit.
Project Confection is an oldie, and I think actually probably in 2014 we already said this, but we just wanted to reiterate that they lost interest in an expansion and they are going to consider it at a later date. Project Portion is interesting because it's one of those where the customer was doing their own search, asked us for help to do a search as well. Once we sent them their information, they went rogue and started negotiating on their own without us. But we contacted them and they bought property here in Boise, we found out. And they're also negotiating across the state with other people on partnering opportunities. 78 is one that we've all worked on. It's going on 3 years, I think, now. The decision is delayed because the company did a company-wide implementation of SAP software, which is very time-consuming, but they're still also doing further review on their transportation and logistics costs for all of the locations. One thing I want to just commend, I want to commend Callan for her steadfastness and getting this done, and all the team for re-inputting a ton of information. I wanted to let you all know that we do have Salesforce, which is a customer relationship management system. And in that system, we have historical data on our leads back to 2007. So it's well over 1,000 leads. So when we first developed it, we put in every possible thing that we felt we could ever want to know about customers. But wouldn't you know it, for example, when we put it in 2007, we didn't have TRI. So you have to go back and input in that customer base an input field, which requires you to go back and look at every applicable customer. So when we decided to do this huge project to pull up RFIs, we had to indeed go back, find the customers where an RFI was applicable, so we could pull up only those leads that we worked on that RFIs were sent out on. I ended the sentence with the preposition, so sorry about that. But we also we wanted to respect the confidentiality of all those projects that we work on where economic developers call us directly and we work with them on their projects. So, but we did want to let you know how sophisticated this process is, because what you're seeing now is an example of all of the dashboards that we can pull up for Salesforce that are important to us for our metrics that we use for measurement. And I'm going to let Cal go through some of those, and then the team will jump into, as we deem necessary, to show you some of the things that we measure.
Okay, great. Thanks, Susie. So the view you're seeing right there is just a snapshot, just an idea of some of the things that we track, but knowing that this audience isn't going to be interested in all of that, we picked out a few that we wanted to go over with this group that hopefully you will be interested in. So to start off, this is a look at all the projects by the originating state. So notice this is from 2008 to the present. I think probably no surprise here. And again, just a little disclaimer. So these are projects that Commerce has taken an active role in. So they might not be, like when we get in some of the regional information, it might not be what you have on your records, but this is just the projects that we have in Salesforce. So looking at them by state, no surprise, quite a few of them come from Idaho, so those are either competitive expansion projects or like TRI projects where they're looking for some help from the state with their expansion projects. And then between California, Washington, Oregon, and Utah, that takes up kind of the next 35%, and then the remaining are all the other states in the nation. And if I didn't have Salesforce summarize it into the other category, it would look like a zoo up there. So it's all states, or the remaining states are less than 3%. So those 5 are the big ones. And then, of course, some of them, when we are working with the site selectors, as you guys know, we oftentimes don't know much about the project at all in terms of where it's coming from. And that's what the unknown category is. So next are the projects by project type. This one's interesting. The biggest portion are the expansions that are external, and by external we mean coming from outside of Idaho. So oftentimes we think of business attraction as picking up companies from other locations and just moving them to Idaho, but in reality they are companies that are existing somewhere else looking to expand, and they're expansion projects. So a new facility or new operation, they're looking to move to Idaho or start up in Idaho. So that's 63% of what we've seen since 2008. And then behind that are expansion internal, so that's companies inside of Idaho who are looking to expand, and either it's a competitive process or looking for some TRI help that we've worked on. And then just 12% are the full-on relocation projects, and then some of them are new projects that are cropping up here in Idaho, and maybe either are new from out of state or new in-state, but just didn't really have any roots prior to contacting us. And then a few unknowns. Okay, and then by lead source, so this one's actually pretty interesting too. As you can see, 43%, and this, I should say, lead source means where we, or how we were contacted about the project. So like the first section is the local ED partners. So that just means perhaps you had worked with a site selector or the client directly, but we heard about it from you, from our ED network. So 43% there, and of course those projects we keep confidential and we don't share with anyone else in the state, so you won't be hearing any reports from us about those projects. And then essentially the remaining 57% are all projects that we get directly from either site selector, from the companies, or other sources. So like from trade shows that we go to, or an external referral, maybe from Department of Labor, Department of Ag. And those are the ones that if they are requesting a location search, that we'd send out an RFI on those. So they're the largest portion of those that we work on, but definitely there's a big contingent that are where you guys are taking the lead on them, and we're just kind of acting in a supporting role. And then by NAICS code, so this is pretty interesting. So these are all projects. And in fact, all of the ones that I've covered are all projects, whether we won them or lost them. And this one too is showing all projects by NAICS code by the 3 digits. So we summarize them up to the 3-digit level. And no surprise there, leading the pack is food manufacturing, followed by fabricated metal product manufacturing. And then the orange and purple is administrative and support services. So oftentimes those are the call centers, and then the professional, scientific, and technical services. So pretty interesting there that the administrative and professional services are in place 3 and 4 on the chart, and then coming up behind those are just a bunch of other manufacturing codes, so computer and electronic, chemical, machinery, and transportation equipment, which is largely represented by the aerospace industry in Idaho. And then all of the others, which again, it would be a zoo up there if I didn't have it collapse into just other. So then it's cool to see, in comparison to that one, what are the won projects, the NAICS codes that we're actually winning. So again, food manufacturing is first, and then fabricated metal products are second. But here's where there's a bit of a change. So where there had been administrative and professional services, now it's transportation equipment and computer and electronic product manufacturing. Administrative and professional services flip to number 5 and 6 on the chart. So it just gives us a good feel for what is out there, what we're winning. The merchant wholesalers, either non-durable goods or durable goods. So that is like vendors, wholesale vendors who are providing material or goods to manufacturers in the state or outside the state, but they're just kind of playing that middleman role. And then because I thought it would be interesting to see, all right, well, in sheer like volume, we have a feel for what are we getting and what are we winning. Well, I wanted to break it down by percent win. And here, merchant wholesalers for the durable goods takes the first place. And then behind that, miscellaneous manufacturing, transportation manufacturing, the merchant wholesalers, and then a bunch of manufacturing. So administrative and professional services, a little bit lower on this one, but just interesting to see where we're doing the best by percentage one. And then here is just a little bit of a summary of those charts. So by volume, we receive and win the most projects under the Food Manufacturing and Fabricated Metal Product Manufacturing Code. And then by win rate, we are most successful with the merchant wholesalers of durable goods, miscellaneous manufacturing and transportation equipment manufacturing, again, the aerospace sector. And then administrative and professional services are third and fourth most received projects, but we only win 22 and 21% of those projects. So that's something just because of the shift that they made on the charts that we definitely pay attention to. And then lastly, the won projects by the economic development region, so from 2008 to present, and if these numbers don't align with what you have or what you're aware of, it's just because we probably use a different system for qualifying projects to track on our program. But Region 3 coming in with 38%, and Region 1 with 18%. I'm just reading them in case you guys can't see them. Region 4 with 16%. Region 5 with 9%, Region 2 with 8%, Region 6 with 6%, and then Region 7 with 5%. So that's where the won projects are going in the state, and the ones that we are helping out with and working on anyway. Oh, thanks. Okay, so that wraps up the project overview. I hope you guys found that to be interesting and helpful. We probably won't be doing all of those charts on a regular basis just because I think the information is interesting, but I don't know how valuable it is to you. But we're open to your feedback on that if you do want to see it more. But it's something that we have going on an ongoing basis. And then Amanda, I forgot to send you the information on the ED Partners map. So everyone bear with me as we go into our shared drive here, and hopefully I can find what I'm looking for quickly. Under Infrastructure Resource Guide. Do you guys know?
It's under
Toolkit.
You're under publication.
Okay. Yep, Toolkit. Good call. This is what you get for making shortcuts, because then you can't find it. Shoot. Oh. Search for infrastructure. Okay, it's not muted.
I'm muted.
Okay, so we just turned off the screen share so we can find it.
We're just trying to find the file. Bear with us. We'll bring the screen back up once we find it.
There it was.
Okay. There we go.
2016.
So it's in Publications, Big Book Events. Big Book.
Oh.
Okay. We will find that.
Isn't that it?
Yeah. I have to get to it.
You can't click on it in the search?
That's not what I want.
Oh.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully the screen is back up. Thank you for your patience on that. Next time I'll be more on the ball. So some of you might have been here or might have seen this if you were with us on Tuesday, because Randy did pass out copies of this in a printed form. There are still a couple of updates that I need to make, so I haven't shared it with everyone yet, but I wanted to get you guys just a first glimpse of it. You might have seen it too, because I sent it for updates or have sent it out a couple times for updates, but this is something that we had received a number of for, just to have so that you could know who else was in the network, who was out there, and have contact information for them, because as I know at least Chrissy's team, Randy, Gary, and Hank always say sometimes your best resources are just other EDOs and other ED professionals knowing what they've done and what has worked for them. So hopefully with this map and directory, not only will it be helpful for site selectors and companies who are looking for contact information in Idaho, but also for our network, so you can use it as a resource. So first the map, and this just designates what organizations are cities, who are economic development organizations, and which ones are the rural initiative grantees. So not everyone made this map, but for the most part, we just tried to determine where is there someone who is working as a designated economic development professional. And again, there are some tweaks to make, but if you have some suggestions or some edits to it, I'm still open to receiving those, but we're going to get this published in the 2016 Infrastructure Resource Guide, and that's probably going to happen in the next couple weeks. So just a little bit of time left on this. And then probably even more exciting than the map is the business or the directory, which has the contact information available, and it is organized alphabetically. So you can find who you're looking for, and I've had some questions as to, well, who are the contacts listed? We just wanted to have one contact for the most part for each entry, and then use their phone number and their email address. So sometimes this might not be the best way or your preferred way of listing it, but we wanted to keep it simple and keep all of them squeezed into just a couple of pages. So you'll be seeing this. I'll share it with the entire network, and it'll be in the Infrastructure Resource Guide. And additionally, we are going to make a map layer on the GemState Prospector, so you can click there to also find the contact information. So it will be available in a number of locations. And that's all I have for the ED Partners map and directory.
Yay! Thank you, Callan.
Yeah, sorry for the delay in finding it.
And as Callan mentioned, we did have requests. We've had people call in and say, who handles this here? And it's another ED, so I think this will be on the website and available for everyone to look at. Any other questions?
No.
We don't have any for now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take it away. Thank you, Callan, and on to Jenny.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to just briefly highlight our new user guide for property exempt from taxation, 602NN. Put that in your back pocket. So this is the manufacturer's property tax exemption for communities who have a business coming in that's investing at least $3 million. And then your county commissioners have the ability to offer a full or partial property tax exemption as an incentive to come to their community. So we decided to put this user guide together because it turns out many of us didn't really know how it worked. It's been around for quite a while, but not all communities have used it. And there wasn't a guide to help people kind of figure it out. We had the statute and some administrative rules, but they left it very open as far as what you're able to do beyond the minimum requirements. So it was kind of scary to dive into that, not knowing if you're going to do it correctly. So I worked closely with the Idaho State Tax Commission and the Idaho Association of Counties to put this user guide together to help our EDOs and even county commissioners, if they've never used it before, just to walk people through the use. So I won't go through this page by page. I just want to let you know kind of what's in there. We've mapped out kind of a roadmap of some of the questions you need to ask to determine if you can continue to move forward and allow it. We've got the basic requirements. Some of the things I learned in this process were that land is not eligible for this exemption. Existing buildings are not eligible. So, and that $3 million needs to be put towards new buildings, or personal property. It can be approved for up to 5 years, and it must be approved by your county commissioners. So it's important on our end, and a reason just to have your community, your kind of team put together for your community, your economic development team. So be well connected with your county commissioners so that you know whether or not it's something that they're willing to approve. Because you want to do that, you want to talk to them about it before a project actually comes in, because you don't want to scramble with trying to get an approval and talk to your county commissioners when you've got a client waiting for a response. So talk to them ahead of time and make sure everybody's on board. So again, here's just your roadmap. And I've got, like I said, I've got a lot of input from the tax commission. I worked closely with one of our county attorneys who's familiar and has used this exemption. So we're pretty comfortable with the information in here. After the roadmap, we've tried to put together a good list of frequently asked questions. A lot of different scenarios and questions come up as far as what's allowed, what's not. So we tried to put together a good list of FAQs. Then we tried to put together a few example scenarios, different scenarios that would come up in your community if a client was moving in and just buying bare land and going to build a brand new building, or whether they were buying an existing building and we're going to add on to that existing building. Then we have our appropriate statutes and administrative rules. And then we've also included examples from communities. We've got an example application, which, because each community, the thing with property tax exemption is there are the basic rules and process, basic rules, but no processes. So each county can really create and establish their own process. So here's just some examples that we've tried to include on a sample application that each community, each county can use if they so choose, and they can change it as they see fit, but one put together by the Idaho Association of Counties. We've got sample resolutions. Sorry for the scrolling. Let me get through these statutes. But we have a couple sample resolutions in there when the county commissioners are voting on the exemption, on whether or not to approve it. We have, like I said, a sample application from Idaho Association of Counties, sample instructions for that application, and then we have a sample application from Ada County. And then we also have Canyon County submitted a sample process and standards that they use to help kind of walk you through, and we're still in the statutes here, but here's like a sample resolution. So this can also be used as the contract between the county and the client, so everybody, all parties are aware of what's expected of them. And so we consider this a working document. You know, we put all the information we felt was necessary at the time, but as you use it in your community, as you read it, as different scenarios come up for you, please provide me any feedback or suggestions on how we might be able to make it better, or what things we might need to include that we didn't include the first time. And I think that's all I have for the 602 NN. And again, and this will be posted on our website. I've emailed it out to our leads list and our stakeholders list, but some of you may not be on that list. So if you need a copy of this, just let me know. And again, this is Jenny Hemley. Any questions on that?
Oh, so our one question is, where do I find that 63602NN?
Well, I will email it to you. And if you can send me, if you didn't receive it, I sent it out yesterday evening. And if you did not receive it,
please send me an email so I can make sure you get a copy of it.
And I have another comment to make. I wanted to thank Jenny for doing this. This came about after a meeting between Commerce, Tax Commission, and the Governor. And I think in all the years since it's been passed, all of us have had questions about, well, who's used it? How do I find out how to do that? So it was a very gaping hole that needed to be filled, and Jenny stepped in and took that and did this document, so I congratulate her on that. The other thing I might say as learning for all of us as economic developers, people throw around the term tax abatement. Customers will say, do you have tax abatements? And sometimes we will respond, yes, we do. We have this property tax exemption. When Tax Commission hears the word tax abatement, they have a heart attack, because a tax abatement means a person does not have to pay taxes, but their property is on the tax rolls, meaning that the general tax population has to pay for their property, in essence. What Idaho does not have any property tax abatements or any abatements. What we have is exemptions. And what that means is their property is not put on the tax rolls. They still continue to pay property tax on everything else except for the property that's exempted. And it might not sound like a big deal, but site selectors do know the difference between abatement and exemption. And so I encourage all of us to use the proper vocabulary, if for no other reason than to keep poor Alan Dornfest from having a heart attack when he hears the word abatement. And I think Jenny has some more questions.
Do you know if there will be any changes to the 2015 Business Incentive Manual?
Well,
Yeah, we have not discussed it yet, but that is something we will need to review if there's been any changes or updates that need to be done.
yeah, we usually do it updated annually, so.
If there's any of you out there who notice any issues or changes that need to be done, please email me those specifics and I'll get to it. I appreciate the extra eyes on that manual.
Normally, we know what's going to happen in the legislature and what might be affected. So far, we haven't had a heads up, but you never know.
Never know.
Somebody could be working on something that could affect our incentives and we wouldn't even know about it. But if there are, we'll change it.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. So with that, thank you all. And feel free to email anyone here at Commerce with any questions, and if they can't answer them, they will make sure to get you in touch with the right person. So hopefully you found this all very helpful, and we'll talk to you next month.